Hi guys, it's Miss Kaniali, and I'm here to talk about checkpoints during the cell cycle. So, when a cell goes through the cell cycle, there are points of the cycle where the cell is going to get checked. Now, there are three things that could possibly happen when the cell reaches these checkpoints. One is that the cell is okay. If the cell is okay, there's a green light and it can keep going through the cycle. Next, there's something wrong with the cell, but it's something small. So the cell can get fixed and then it keeps going through the cell cycle. The last thing that could happen is if something is really wrong with the cell. There's too much damage. In that case, the cell is going to go through apoptosis, which is also known as cell suicide. Now, apoptosis is a completely natural event. It happens all the time. Cells that cannot be fixed go through apoptosis. That is completely normal. Now, what exactly are these checkpoints? Well, let's take a look. The checkpoints consist of two different types of molecules. One is CDK, which is an enzyme, and the other one is cyclin, which is a protein. Now, when these two come together, they're known as CDK slash cyclin. These two have to come together in order to work. So these are what you're going to find at certain points of the cell cycle. Now, where exactly do we find CDK and cyclin? Well, the very first one is going to be right during G1. So, during G1, CDK and cyclin is going to check for two things. One, that the cell is big enough, and two, that the DNA is not damaged. Remember, during G1, the cell is getting bigger because it needs room for the next phase, which is synthesis, where the DNA is going to get doubled. So the cell goes through the checkpoint, then it's going to keep going, and then the next checkpoint where it's going to get checked is during, or I should say after, G2. So at this point, the cell is should be ready to divide, ready to go through mitosis. CDK cyclin is also going to check and make sure that the DNA is not damaged, and it's going to make sure all those proteins that were duplicated are there. Okay, once it gets through that checkpoint, it's going to continue on to mitosis until it reaches the final checkpoint, which is right after metaphase. So remember, metaphase is when those chromosomes are lined up in the middle. So here, CDK and cyclin is going to check for two things. It's going to check and make sure those spindle fibers, remember those string-like things, are connected correctly to the chromosomes, and that finally that the chromosomes are lined up correctly in the middle. If those spindle fibers are not connected correctly, those chromosomes won't be able to pull apart, and you're going to have damage to the cell. So what I want you guys to think about is what would happen if these checkpoints did not do their job? What would be the effect in the cell cycle? Stay tuned for another screencast all about that. Bye!